The latest season of Doctor Who is over, but not for everybody. We're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch podcast.
This is the Geek Watch podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 218 of the Geek Watch podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
And we're back. We had a little bit of a hiatus while you were doing Cabaret.
I was doing Cabaret, yes.
Very interesting show.
Yeah.
That
yes.
Apparently not everybody knows what the show's about.
Yes, and as I understand, you were in the audience with people who did not know what the show was about. So what was that like for you?
Oh, spoilers, Nazis, because it's a German cabaret in the 30s. Well, yeah, there were some people who were shocked when they saw swastikas and SS uniforms. It's funny because apparently right now in TikTok, it's a TikTok trend about people who do not understand what cabaret is about.
Because of Eddie Redmayne.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it just doesn't seem to die. For some reason, people don't know what Cabaret is about.
Surprise.
Of course, yeah, surprise. And yeah, it was rather strange to be in the audience. I would have thought at the very least word would have gotten out over the 2 weeks that you guys were doing Cabaret, that there wouldn't be anybody in the audience who was shocked by what happened in the show. But apparently, not everyone got the memo.
No, it's right there on the poster. Warning for all. It's R-rated for these reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great show, and it was a precursor because it started out as a stage production. Mm-hmm. Technically, it started out
as the book. Yeah,
which
the Berlin Stories.
Yes, which I do have a copy of, the Berlin Stories.
And if I'm not wrong, I think the movie I Am a Camera came before, or no, the play. It was a play, I Am a Camera.
And it was, and you're right, it was made into a movie.
Yes.
And yes, it was based off of the same thing. So it's, strangely enough, something we're about ready to talk about, a very similar situation. But yeah, there was like two different versions of it. And you had the drama, and then you had the musical. Mm-hmm. And two different ways of looking at the same material.
Right, yeah. It's The Sword and the Stone and King Arthur. They're based on the same stories, two very completely different retellings of it.
Yeah, different takes on it. And Cabaret, for the cinemaphiles in the audience, it did very much change movies forever. It was a musical in a time where musicals just did not make money.
No.
And that was a real concern, but...
all musicals up until that point had been the huge Busby Berkeley and Rodgers and Hammerstein with these huge, great numbers with fantastic Broadway dancers and classically trained ballerinas. And then when Fosse did this, he made it very raw, very non-professional looking, and the dancers weren't pretty, and their costumes weren't professional, and so it was very much different than what people had thought of musicals up until that point.
And also he was able to take advantage of the fact that a lot of what happens in the movie takes place on stage in a club. You don't have to suspend disbelief with this idea of people breaking out
into song. Yes, you're correct.
These were people who were performing on stage, so they had absolutely every reason to break out into a song because they were performing. And so there was a certain type of verisimilitude that made the commentary of the movie that much more hard-hitting because of course, the subject matter they talked about was very much real.
Yeah. Oh, and the experiences that they go through. One thing that we had discussed while doing this play was that so many things you hear about World War II, movies, media, it's all about military and Pearl Harbor and all these kind of movies that you think about. But this was about your everyday people and what they went through. A couple club singers and a writer living in the poor section of Germany and what they were going through that led up to World War II and how they were pulled in and how they had to escape.
Right.
So looking at the everyman experience.
Right. And especially this idea that's been is confusing to a lot of people who look back at that time period and they wonder, how could something like this happen? How could somebody who lived in the middle of all of this be okay with it or allow it to happen? How did this not wind up getting crushed right from the beginning? And certainly in the play, in the musical, in the movie, you get an idea really of what it feels like to be caught in the middle of all of this and what you wind up having to do to just survive. And depending on what your political leanings might be nowadays, you might look at back then and wonder what kind of world you're living in now.
Yes. I mean, some of the throwaway lines are the most powerful. Oh, that was just children going to school, throwing bricks through my window.
Yes.
Politics, what does that have to do with us?
Right.
And
oh, yes.
yep.
And yeah, it was a wonderful production. I mean, I have seen productions of Cabaret before. What I really love about the theater that you guys performed in St. Albans, the Alban Arts Center, is it's a smaller theater. It's a well-established. Yeah, it's very intimate.
Yes.
And that really brings a lot of the stuff home. And I've seen a lot of really good productions there that the way that theater is laid out, it really, there's some different things that have been done in there, the Laramie Project. I'm trying to think of some other things that I've seen recently, but Cabaret certainly. The way all of that is set up, it really brings a lot of the Colored Museum. That was another one that I saw there. Yeah, it's a really good, a really wonderful venue for productions that in one way or another have something to say.
Yes.
And so I really did enjoy that very much. Until you or I or both are performing again, we'll get back to work.
Yeah,
So,
which should be soon.
Yeah.
if our friend Carrie Kirk has anything to say about it,
we'll see
she
how
will
that.
have us
Yes,
both a part of her production,
Yes, we'll see how that goes.
which would be great for our Geek Watchers. Our Geek Watchers would be excited about what's coming up next.
Yes, right up their alley, I would think. But speaking of different interpretations of the same story, I just saw the trailer for the new Nosferatu movie.
Oh, really?
Oh,
I've
yes.
heard things about it, but I haven't seen the trailer.
Oh, yes. I can definitely tell that Eggers, what he's going to be doing with it, it looks wonderful. And what I have heard about it is that this may be the most accurate telling of Dracula that we've ever seen.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is ironic when you think about it, because Nosferatu, the
Yeah,
original,
they threw a fit about it.
yeah, because it was,
Bram Stoker, didn't he?
yeah, because it was obviously plagiarism.
Yeah.
And so it's funny that decades later, we're going to get a production of maybe one of the most book accurate versions of Dracula we've
Wow.
ever seen on the screen because of this. And again, going back to Nosferatu, the original, a keystone of the Weimar Republic, going back to Germany around that time, where lots of wonderful art and things were going on. And then this guy with a screwy mustache
Destroyed it all.
who wrecked it all in moments. But getting to revisit it is going to be wonderful. And it, again, looking at the trailer, I mean, you don't get a really good look at Orloff, although I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Okay.
You know,
Because it's Bill Skarsgård, right?
Yes.
I thought so, yeah.
So, yeah, Pennywise with fangs, who drinks blood, which is Pennywise. But
Yeah, and Bill Skarsgård has played a vampire-type creature in Hemlock Grove.
right,
They don't call them vampires, but definitely a blood drinker. No stranger. No
Oh,
stranger.
yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with it. Like I said, we got a teaser trailer, and wow, just that alone, with Lucy calling out to the vampire in a prayer, in a real sense, praying to be made prey.
Okay.
And that's how they start out this trailer. Yeah, I can't wait for you to see it.
Okay.
It's going to blow your mind. So that has me excited. What I find really interesting, of course, is the release date. We're going to get it for Christmas.
Oh, I would have thought Halloween. Okay. All right. So,
Yeah, Santa got my letter. I saw that it was getting a Christmas release, and I'm like, okay.
Now, I did see a trailer for a Christmas movie coming out
Oh, which one?
with The Rock.
Oh, yes, Red One.
What?
Yeah.
My God, that just looked like a bunch of people having fun.
Is Ryan Reynolds in that? For some reason, I have in the back of my mind that Ryan Reynolds is involved in this.
Someone like Ryan Reynolds. Oh, the guy who plays Santa. I know. He's J. Is it J. Jonah Jameson? I think he plays.
J.K. Yeah.
J.
Jake
Simmons. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he's playing Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's someone along those lines. But they just.
Santa's Secret Service.
Yes, exactly. Santa's bodyguards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's hilarious. And I can't wait to see that either. And we're getting close to some interesting things, definitely. Wolverine and Deadpool, I'm hearing really good things about that. Right. But going back to Bill Skarsgård, I've heard that, of course, he's in the Crow remake.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing things about that. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But the word that I keep hearing to describe this movie over and over again, I've heard people use this word, and I guarantee you the word is never going to appear on a poster for this movie ever. Unwatchable.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's harsh.
See, the only things that I've read about it are just people saying that it'll never live up to the original. We didn't want this. All hail Brandon Lee, that kind of stuff. Nothing from people who had actually seen or read anything about it, just that they were disappointed that it existed at all. That's all I've heard.
Yeah. It's definitely different than the source material, where Brandon Lee's version of it was closer to the material, the look of the comic, the graphic novel. And I don't have a problem with that, just because I separate myself, or at least thanks to you, I have learned better to separate myself from certain things. And I don't need things to be as slavish to the source material as maybe...
Because it's different mediums.
Yeah, it's a different medium. And even if it's not the novel or it's not the Brandon Lee movie, we still have the novel and the Brandon Lee movie. So if you want that, it's still available.
Yeah, and the sequels, if you wanna.
Yeah, if
Crow City of Angels.
Yeah, and the television show.
That's right, there was a television show.
Yeah.
I never saw it, but I knew of it.
Yeah, I remember watching it in the afternoons, but I will say, however, that as much as I'm willing to give it the chance to be what it is, it does have to be good. I can forgive a lot of things except for bad storytelling, but I do want to talk about Doctor Who with a caveat, because you're still getting caught up, which means that you have seen everything so far except for the last 2 episodes.
Yep.
The season finale, 2-parter. You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen that.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, I ain't going to say nothing, period.
Okay.
Although I'm sure there are people listening right now going, oh, God.
Dying to talk about it.
it. And assuming that you'll have time to get caught up by by the next part, we will definitely talk about the season finales. But you're up to, as you said, Bridgerton.
Yeah, the Bridgerton episode. I don't even watch Bridgerton, but it's very obvious because they say it over and over again in the show.
And there are a couple conceits from Bridgerton. And I haven't seen a whole lot of Bridgerton, but there are certain things that, knowing the zeitgeist, that I picked up on, and we can talk about that. But we're going to talk about the season in general. We've talked about a little bit of it. And I'm trying to remember how far we had gotten the last time we had talked about.
I think we had seen the Beatles episode.
So
the ones I'm thinking about are like the one with the fairy charms.
Yes,
Yeah.
73 yards.
Man, that one, there was really no resolution. It was satisfying, but we don't know why. We don't know how, who made that happen. Obviously, she decided that this was her job to take care of Mad Jack, and she did it and everything, but we don't know who set it in motion.
Right.
Or anything. Yeah.
Well, obviously, the theme came from Kate Lethbridge Stewart, which was very often we just try to come up with a reason.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what caused Ruby to use what she had to stop this guy, although obviously by the end of the episode, none of that mattered because it rewound, and so you were back on the same track you always were.
Yeah.
But she gave herself a purpose, and it allowed her to basically live out the rest of her life. But there was a lot of what you would refer to, and has been referred to in the show. I know you haven't seen any of Peter Capaldi, but the Bootstrap paradox. And there was an episode that involved a creature known as the Fisher King. I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that.
Okay.
but the bootstrap paradox. Are you familiar with
No.
Okay, I'll explain it to you the same way that Peter Capaldi's doctor explained it.
Okay.
Breaking the fourth wall, by the way, looking at the camera and explaining it to us, to the audience. Imagine you're a time traveler who's really into Beethoven. You just absolutely love Beethoven, and you're like, I'm going to get in my time machine. I'm going to go back in time, and I'm going to meet Beethoven. This is going to be awesome. And you take your sheet music with you because you want to get Beethoven to sign your sheet music. You've got Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and you're just like, this is going to be awesome to actually have Beethoven's signature. And so you travel back in time, and you look everywhere, and you can't seem to find Beethoven. Nobody knows who this is. They've never heard of Beethoven. And so now you panic. Have we been deprived of Beethoven? And so you decide, wait a minute, I have all Beethoven's sheet music. So you decide to publish all of Beethoven's music so that the world has it. And so they do have it. And so in a real sense, you have become Beethoven.
Okay, yes.
The bootstrap paradox is this. Who wrote the music?
Right. We don't know.
Yes, because it's just a loop.
Uh-huh.
That's the bootstrap paradox.
Okay.
And so...
That's the Chuck Berry happened in Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's where a time loop causes something that didn't exist to come into existence, but you don't really understand exactly where it came from.
Right.
Because it doesn't have a beginning or an end. It just continues to loop in this paradox.
Okay.
What's interesting about 73 Yards is this idea of this loop where we don't know where it started and where it ended, and it winds up breaking, so it doesn't continually loop. In a real sense, what happens is Ruby's timeline folds in on itself.
Mm-hmm.
So she loops up, goes back, and then continues on. So it's like she does a loop-de-loop.
Yep. She can't tell herself not to step on the fairy trap because she didn't step on the fairy trap.
Exactly.
Yep.
And so that breaks the loop, and she continues on. Again, I really enjoyed that episode.
Oh, I did too, yes.
But I love sushi, and I also understand that a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not someone who can enjoy the idea of, okay, we're not going to get an explanation
Right,
here.
yes.
If that drives you nuts, you're not going to like that episode, certainly.
We don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to know that. So that's just the nature of it.
Then the next episode I call the bottle episode with Mickey Mouse money.
Yes.
Because we didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. We just stayed right there. But we had all kinds of cool effects and cool sets.
Yeah, Boom.
Boom.
Which is a Stephen Moffat episode.
Okay.
What's really funny is they had interviewed him about Doctor Who and would he ever come back. He basically lied and said... If they ever decide to have me back, I don't know. We'd have to discuss it. I'm not sure. But I know you guys want me to say, now that I'm not a part of it, you want me to say something really bad about the show. And I know how that's going to turn out. The minute I do, suddenly, boom, it'll be out on the internet.
Good job.
Yes. So yes, he announced the name of the episode that he had written.
That's brilliant.
Yes. But he said he expected the show was going to be great and it's going to be a joy to the world for it to come back. And Joy to the World is the name of the Christmas episode that's coming up that he again wrote. Yes, he tipped that off. And so the question is, at that point, did you notice anything weird going on with these episodes?
I didn't notice it until it was like pointed out.
Yes,
like
which was
that
the 73 yards. Yes.
Yeah, she keeps showing up. And
yes. This is funny because obviously there are a lot of people who've gone through all of this. There was talk online about this all the way through. But how much do you know about this actor that seems to be in this role that for some reason?
None.
Okay, first of all, this actor shows up firstly in Wild Blue Yonder, the David Tennant 14th Doctor, the woman who was talking to Isaac Newton before he went out to the...
Oh, okay.
So she was there.
Okay.
And then she was also in the church on Ruby Road. She was the one who was calling out to the band for a song. So she was there.
Uh-huh.
And then in The Devil's Chord, she was the lunch lady.
Mm-hmm.
And in Boom, of course, she was the ambulance. And in 73 Yards, she was the hiker. And that's where they make the mention, where you hear the first mention of it. Mm-hmm. But the name of the actress, this is what's great and this is what started a lot of the controversy. Her name, legit, for real, not making this up, could not make this up. Her name is Susan Twist. So there is always a twist at the
There's a
end.
twist at the end.
And I'm sure they're going to do something with this, maybe in an episode later on.
Yeah.
Somehow, maybe. A lot of people have been speculating about where that's going to go. Whether there's been an answer to that yet, I can't say. Or at least I couldn't say. But yeah, so what's interesting when you talk about Disney money, and a lot of people looked at this and it's, wow, yeah, look at that awesome green screen. It's not a green screen. No, this is what Disney money can do for you. And obviously, as an actor, you know how difficult it is to act opposite of a green screen because you have to pretend, right?
Yes.
What if you got Disney money and instead of doing a green screen, you just do a big, massive television and project the image on the television so people can look? That's what they did. It's not a green screen. It's just the hugest freaking television you've ever seen. So when Ruby's looking out at the landscape and she's just captivated by it, she's really looking at it because it's really there. And there are a lot of those moments in there where, and not just in that episode, maybe in some other places also, but where they don't do green screens. They just do big projections. They put up huge television screens, at giving the actors something to act against. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And I was...
Yeah, I was thinking of the Black Mirror episode, the Bubble episode, which was like being in a Black Mirror episode. It was,
yes, Bubble and Dot.
Bubble and Dot, yeah.
And we will definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
because,
that was
yeah, Boom was really interesting. And they brought back this arms manufacturer that was mentioned in the first season of Doctor Who with that.
Eccleston?
Yes. You may remember Are You My Mommy?
Yes.
And you remember the squareness gun. Captain Jack had a sonic weapon that...
the doctor went and blew up the factory.
It's that factory. So he knows, it's like he knows who they are.
Okay.
And yeah, he destroyed that factory. Earlier regeneration of his, yes, went and destroyed that factory. But yes, he's still having to deal with their crap. Yeah. So
fantastic.
That was a wonderful callback. What's also very interesting is the female soldier in that episode, the Anglican soldier, is the same actor who is going to be the Doctor's next companion.
Oh.
So we
same
get...
character or different character?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
Because that's next season.
Not Jonathan Groff. Oh, I knew something bad was going to happen as soon as he said, "Let's go argue through the stars," and something bad's going to happen to him.
Yes, for sure.
Yep.
So yeah, she is in one way or another. She's going to become a companion of the Doctor.
Excellent.
And
I like her a lot.
Oh yeah, and whether she's going to be a descendant or an ancestor.
Amy Pond and Martha played completely different characters before they became companions.
Oh yeah, and the sixth Doctor shot the fifth Doctor. Oh yeah, before he was the Doctor. And of course, Peter Capaldi's Doctor in the same episode where Amy Pond appeared before she was Amy Pond, Karen Gilliam.
Yes.
So there have been those situations where we've had that. And of course, with Jenna Coleman, it became a plot point. And of course, with Peter Capaldi, it also became a plot point where he chose that face, as he said, to remind himself to toe the mark. I won't go into a whole lot of detail about that, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with that, obviously. But that was, like you say, it was an interesting Bubble episode, and it did set up a few things. And we do have to talk about Bubble and Dot.
Yes. Oh, that's one that really twisted your emotions.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to love this character. She is going to be fantastic. Oh, nope. You are going to want her to burn like, oh, man.
Yeah. And the thing about it is definitely white people talking to white people about racism. To be honest, yeah, those talking tos have to happen. There is a lot of, especially if you're the type of person who's not really fond of racism and you're white, this is some serious existential dread, especially if you realize it took you an inordinate amount of time to realize, where are all the black people in this place?
Right.
Which is, yeah. And there are a lot of especially when you go back and look at it, there are a lot of places here where you go, oh, this is uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
It's like she talked to Ruby, but she called the police on the doctor.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, now I
It's
said.
like, oh, no wonder she turned and the hints were there the whole time. Ugh.
But we do need to talk about the Bridgerton episode
yes.
for a little bit. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was so much fun, and I think everyone there was having so much fun too. And
Oh, yeah.
and now I want a pair of earrings that
Yeah,
teach
it's
me
like-
to dance and fight.
Oh, yes. I will say this. There is something they do in Bridgerton that they adopted for this episode, which is classical sounding music that's actually modern music that they change it.
I missed it.
Yeah, there was a bunch of it because when the doctor met Rogue and they were talking on the balcony, that was Billie Eilish's Bad Guy.
Oh, okay.
Yes, done in strings. And
Oh, I know when they went into Rogue's ship, and of course they were playing Kylie Minogue, but I missed the postmodern jukebox twist on things.
Oh,
That is
yes.
very cool.
Oh, and speaking of the fight scene, that was Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Now you got to go back and listen
Definitely,
to that. You're
yes.
like, oh crap! Yes,
Now I've got to
is.
watch it again.
Oh yes.
I loved it, and the costumes were gorgeous. I don't know if they borrowed them from Bridgerton or who. Maybe they called up Netflix and said, "Hey, can you send us a few of those dresses over?" But it looked gorgeous, and the effects, the bird people, and they were
Yeah.
different species of birds, and yeah, just loved it. The dice on the panel.
Yes, but it also has indicated something which may or may not play out later on, because I can't say. But as much as the doctor likes to say that he has gone through retirement and he's in a better place, there was that moment where he fell back into that old habit of, hey, just keep moving forward. Let's forget about what happened and just keep going, which isn't the best way to handle something. And fortunately, Ruby was there
She
to go,
wouldn't let him.
yeah, don't do this. Don't go down this road. But now, of course, you're about ready to experience the two-parter, which you haven't done that yet,
Nope.
and you've and apparently have managed to avoid spoilers.
A little bit. I've seen some memes. I don't quite get them. I might know if it's a callback to very early William Hartnell poo, maybe.
Okay, so obviously you'll need to get caught up on that, and of course you'll have this weekend.
Yes.
You'll actually have a weekend free now,
Right.
which
What's
is
that?
oh yeah, and we'll see how long that lasts. But I really do want to talk about the two-parter. I would absolutely suggest to you and anybody who hasn't seen it yet, yes, stay off. Do not go online at all. And there's a bunch of reasons that are going to be really clear to you after you've seen the episodes. It's definitely something that you need to go in absolutely cold. You do not want to watch anything online about it at all. For a bunch of different reasons. And people who have seen it are like, oh, yeah, that makes, yeah, don't go online, don't see anything. For obvious reasons and for reasons not so obvious. But yeah, once you definitely have to come back because I definitely want to find out what you think about it. And I really do want your opinion, but I guess we'll see what it is.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 218. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.